Hi, I'm Holly, and with my sister Heather, you're listening to Haunted Family Podcast, a weekly podcast about the paranormal, unsolved mysteries, and even some true crime.
And
this is already take 2 again. My computer just glitched out as soon as Heather started talking. Crazy. I know. Well, and I have a migraine, so that sucks. And actually, is that not enough? The computer glitching and I have a migraine?
I started recording for our YouTube channel today, and it took me 2 tries to get that right. We've decided to add true paranormal stories to our YouTube channel. If you have any true paranormal stories, send them to us at our email address, hauntedfamilypodcast@gmail.com.
So do we have any updates from this week?
My boyfriend started a podcast.
Yay. I'm going to assume it's about wrestling.
It is about wrestling. I feel that bringing him into our Chris Benoit episode is what made this podcast happen.
Probably. I've been telling him forever he needed to do one, though.
But actually, it's quite funny. His best friend was telling her husband that a woman she works with, husband, makes those videos for, what's that channel called? Twitch or something like that? And it's pretty much just him playing video games or reviewing video games. And his friend was telling him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Heather and Holly have a podcast. I was on an episode a couple months back talking about Chris Benoit." And his friend was like, "Why are we not doing this?" So that is how World Wrestling Cast came about. They recorded their first episode yesterday.
I can't wait to listen to it. And I bet they used our affiliate code, Haunted Family PB, on Podbean.
I think they did.
Good. If not, they're in trouble.
If not, they will. I know they have not uploaded anything yet. They just recorded, and they edited it today. So they're brand new. They're babies.
Aww. But you know what? They have us to guide them through those beginning stages. We had nobody, and our first 8 months sucked ass.
Yeah. They actually borrowed my microphone to record.
Aww.
Yeah. So if you follow us on Instagram, you got to see my microphone and my stand and all that all packed up in this cute little bag. So I send it off with them, like packing a lunch for school.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm excited for them. I think they're gonna have fun with this.
Well, I don't know if you guys listen to the news, but we have a new branch of the military.
Well, not technically yet.
Well, listen,
apparently the president doesn't have doesn't have the power to make a new branch of the military.
Well,
I think I remember reading that this week.
This needs to happen. I have been training my entire life for this branch.
I'm pretty excited about this.
I just didn't know it. I did not know I was training for this branch. Space Force. We will be awesome. We will be the best. We'll have the best uniforms. We will have the best laser beam guns.
Holly is already planning to pilot the Death Star.
Yes. I was trying to decide, do I want the Millennium Falcon? Do I want a TIE fighter? But no, you know what? We're bringing back the Death Star. And that's what's happening. I'm lying about my age. Although, if you are listening to this, government, I am not lying about my age in order to enlist. I am only 25 years old. In the grand
scheme of things, I understand why we need... I really wouldn't go so far as call it the Space Force, but there is a very big need to protect our satellites in space.
I'm
Star
sorry.
Wars references about all this has just been too much. It's so funny.
I made Ernie watch Starship Troopers this weekend. Forced him. forced him to watch it. I was like, I just want you to know what I will be doing when I am deployed. He just really didn't like it all that much. He thought it was kind of gross.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
Well, I kept calling it a war film. I was like, war films are violent. This is a war film. He was like, it's not a war film. It is a war film.
Kind of like in high school history class, me and our teacher wanted to watch Saving Private Ryan, and the principal said, that movie's too gory to show students, and she said, but it's a war movie, and war is gory.
It really. So, this podcast might have to come to an end once I enlist. I mean, I might be able to record while I'm defending our galaxy from the evils. Would this make me a woman in black?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. That would be if you stayed here and dealt with alien things. Of course, maybe they will lump the Men in Black into the Space Force.
Okay, because I was really hoping that I could hang out with Will Smith.
I don't think he's actually a Man in Black, Holly.
What? Well, you've just ruined all this for me.
I think he just was in the documentary about the Men in Black.
I see. Okay.
Our listeners think we're crazy now.
They do. So let's just jump right into our...
Okay. When you think about paranormal in Kentucky, there's usually two big sites that come to mind.
Waverly Hills.
And?
Bobby Mackey's.
Yes. I mean, those are not the two sites that come to my mind.
Right.
But...
Well... So, Bobby Mackey actually ties into Heather and I starting this podcast, but she probably doesn't know it. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, so if you listened to our episode a couple weeks ago, the question and answer episode, I mentioned that I was driving 2 hours one way to work for like a year. And so I listened to podcasts on the way to work and on the way back. And I was driving to northern Kentucky and sometimes Cincinnati. But I would pass Bobby Mackey's. And not that that's why we started the podcast, but I listened to a podcast called Criminal. And it's not really like any other. It's not a comedy podcast or anything like that. She kind of gives you the history of a crime or whatever. She's really good. She's really intelligent. She really does her research. And she was talking about, while I was driving, there was an episode on a murder that happened in northern Kentucky. It was the murder of Pearl Bryan. And I was so fascinated by this that I started doing more research on that murder. And it has been linked to Bobby Mackey's.
I do remember you talking about Pearl Bryan.
Right. And I was so obsessed with this. And that's when I kept harping on Heather about, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. So she finally relented and listened to me, and now we're doing it. But it was that episode that Phoebe Judge did on Criminal about Pearl Bryan that really kind of tipped the scale for me. But whenever people combine Pearl Bryan to Bobby Mackey's, I roll my eyes so hard I feel like they're going to fall out of my head.
You know, I've watched the Ghost Adventures episodes on this, and every time they start trying to link Pearl Bryan to Bobby Mackey's, it's not logical.
No, it's not. So,
they're making too big of a jump there.
Right. Before we talk about Bobby Mackey's, I do want to tell the story of Pearl Bryan.
Yes. I think and she has been linked to Bobby Mackey's for so long, it's important to tell her story now.
Right. Okay. So, Pearl was a wealthy, beautiful woman. And she was from Greencastle, Indiana, which isn't, it's not too far from Cincinnati, and this area of Kentucky is, you could basically say it's a suburb of Cincinnati. I mean, it's literally right across the bridge.
Fun fact. I saw another podcaster put on Instagram the other day. If you tell me you're from Chicago, I really think that you're from like some suburb outside of Chicago. We have a similar saying about Cincinnati. If you tell me you're from Cincinnati, I think you're from Covington.
Right.
Because no one's actually from Cincinnati.
No, I mean, actually I do know people in Cincinnati, but
the vast majority of people who claim they're from Cincinnati are actually from Kentucky side of the river.
Right. Okay, so Pearl was 22. And she was pregnant. She was the youngest of 12 kids. And her dad was a wealthy farmer, which that seems like an oxymoron now, but her father was a wealthy farmer, and she was dating a dental student who was going to school in Cincinnati. Well, she went from her Indiana town to Cincinnati to tell him that she was pregnant. He gave her medicine to cause an abortion. That medicine was cocaine. It also did not cause an abortion. Not an abortion, but a miscarriage. So they decided to do an abortion. Well, he was a med student, right? I mean, does it matter that he's a dentist?
I'm probably going to get so much flack from any dentist on our podcast. Is dentistry really like the same as?
No. Did you ever watch The Hangover? That was kind of a running joke where that guy's like, I'm a dentist. I mean, I'm a doctor. No, you're a dentist. Like,
it's kind of like chiropractors. I mean, technically they're doctors, but
right. So the abortion obviously did not work. So because I think that they were using dental tools, they ended up just killing her. And she was apparently alive when they cut her head off just below the fifth vertebrae. And they left her body in a field. Okay. Now, if you are listening to this and you know anything at all about northern Kentucky, it is behind what is now the YMCA in Fort Thomas. There are a million reports that says that it is 2.5 miles from Bobby Mackey's. It is not. It is not. I drove that a lot. And after listening to that Pearl Bryan episode, I kept thinking, I know that it's farther than 2 miles. So I drove it and I hit my trip mileage. I started my trip miles at Bobby Mackey's and I stopped it at the YMCA. And it was like 8 miles and something. And not on the same road, people. It is not on the same road.
No. So every time you're watching Ghost Adventures and you hear Zach whatever saying, it's just down the road. It's just, no, it's not.
It's not just down the road.
You're being misled to make the story more interesting.
Exactly. So, take it from me, who has driven it. It's not just down the road, and it's not 2.5 miles. It's not even on the same road. It's, you go down, you turn onto a different road, and then you turn onto another road. It's not close, people. It's not close at all. I mean, it's not close. I'm sorry. But
I would think that even as the crow flies, it would be more than 2.5 miles.
Oh, yeah, I think so. So Pearl's boyfriend, Scott Jackson, and his friend, Alonzo Walling, And I can't help it. That Alonzo Walling name, I keep thinking that he like plays basketball for Kentucky or something.
I think that UK had a basketball player at one time whose name sounded similar.
Every time I hear that, I think, didn't he play basketball? But anyway.
And I'm sure there's a diehard Kentucky fan out there who's like, oh my God, I know exactly who they're talking about.
Yeah, but I don't like basketball, so I have no clue. Anyway, so they kill her. They dump her body behind what is now the YMCA. Little boys find her. Her head is missing. There's blood all over the leaves and everything, and people are taking them as souvenirs. I mean, honestly, it's a wonder that this crime was ever solved, and the only thing that solved it was her shoes.
Of course, she came from a nicer, more well-to-do family, and she had on a pair of custom-made shoes from a cobbler in Greencastle, Indiana, and they were able to trace those shoes.
Right. Other than that, they would have never been able to find out who she was. So, were quickly able to trace it back to Scott and his friend, and they were hung in early 1897. The murder happened in 1896. And they hung them behind the Newport Campbell County Courthouse. That's on York Street. They were also the very last people to be hung in Newport. If you are standing in Cincinnati, if you're standing at the river, you will see Newport, and then right beside it is Covington. And they are about a mile apart or something like that. When I first started the job that I do now, I had an agency that managed me, and that agency was in Newport, and then they moved to Covington, and it literally was like, it just made a mile difference. I mean, and both of those are right across the bridge. Like, literally, you might as well just say they're Cincinnati.
I think that if you ever have a chance to visit Cincinnati, that view when you're driving into Cincinnati from Kentucky is one of the most beautiful skylines you will ever see.
Oh, I know. I agree.
Cincinnati really has an underrated skyline. It is gorgeous.
I agree.
But you also got to take consideration, there's no real, that we know of, mob involvement in Pearl Bryan's death, but that area of Kentucky and Ohio was a hotbed for mafia activity.
Right.
So it is possible that there is something in Bobby Mackey's related to a violent death. But my guess would be it'd be more mafia related and not Pearl Bryan related.
Right. And so what people have said the connection is they've said that Scott Jackson and his friend were Satanists, and there's no evidence whatsoever, and they used her head as a sacrifice to Satan. And I'm like, okay, listen.
I think that honestly,
the head was never found.
I think honestly,
yes, there was hair of hers in a suitcase of his, but I mean, that doesn't.
This is what I think happened. Scott Jackson, being a dentist, thought, well, hey, can't they use like dental imprints to trace bodies? Because yes, they were using that technology even back in the 1800s. And he thought, I need to get rid of this. So they cut her head off, and I think her head went into the river.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that her head went into some mysterious well in the bottom of Bobby Mackey's. No.
They would have been
stupid. The well is in the Ohio River.
Yeah, they would have been stupid to put it anywhere other than the Ohio River.
Right. And they're not stupid people. These are smart men who are going to school to be doctors.
Fun fact, Kentucky actually owns the Ohio River.
Cool. I didn't know that. When people try to tell you that Pearl Bryan haunts Bobby Mackey's, you can tell them that Holly said that's bullshit.
And if they pull up the fact that Ghost Adventure used an Ovilus device to contact Scott Jackson, well, just tell them that it's all bunk. In my opinion, there is not even any hard evidence to prove that an Ovilus can actually do what paranormal investigators claim it does.
Yeah.
So let's get into the actual haunting of Bobby Mackey's.
Okay. So, what everybody says is, I mean, and this part is true, it used to be a slaughterhouse. But...
Well, not that building.
Not, right.
There was a slaughterhouse on the site.
This supposed most haunted place, most terrifying place in America, blah, blah, blah. The building is not even the original building. It's not even the slaughterhouse. It's not even the building that anything happened in.
But, I mean, we have talked about it on the show that just because a building is new doesn't mean it can't be haunted.
Correct.
Case in point,
we did
your ex-husband's house.
Right. Although my ex-husband's house, there was something there and it burnt and they built the house back in the same spot.
I thought it was just farmland because that was like, that's a relatively new subdivision.
Oh, that house. I thought you meant number two's house.
I meant number one's house.
Yeah, number one's house, it was just farmland. But we did have that guy on the motorcycle that died at the end of our road. I say our road. He died when I lived there, so it was my road too. Yeah, so it was a slaughterhouse, and they dug a well, and that's where they just dripped all the blood. And I don't know why people think that that is so
sinister.
Creepy or yeah, like why do people think that digging a well in order to just drop the blood through is digging a portal to hell or something? I don't understand this, people. Why do you think that?
Because Ghost Adventures has told them so. And I don't mean to be ragging so hard on Ghost Adventures, but I think that, especially with Bobby Mackey's, they have made a lot of big leaps of conclusions. And I don't believe that all of the conclusions they have drawn from this is factual.
No.
So, I mean, I don't mean to rag so hard on Ghost Adventures. I'm sure that they think that they're doing a good job. I just believe that they have sensationalized Bobby Mackey's to an extreme, and they've made big leaps that really shouldn't have been made.
Right.
So, there's actually no... From what I could find, there's no real substantiated facts about any of these murders or rituals or...
Satanic panic, people. Satanic panic. If a place seems even remotely run down, we are... or at least we were, back in the 80s, so eager to slap a satanic label on it.
Yeah.
What better place than a slaughterhouse to slap a satanic label?
There is there's a legend about Bobby Mackey's that a woman named Joanna, who was a dancer at the club, committed suicide in the 1950s. After her father murdered her lover, who was a singer at the club. There is no
public records.
No public records of this happening. And, I mean, this was just the 1950s. So, it would have showed up in a newspaper.
Right. Or something.
Yeah. And to my knowledge, you can't even find anybody who will vouch for that being fact, who have known any of the players in this and knew that they killed themselves.
Right. Supposedly, well, I mean, not supposedly, I guess, but Bobby Mackey's wife won't go to the club because she's seen and heard stuff there. I mean, I wouldn't go to the club because it looks like you might get a beer bottle to the face, but that's beside the point. I mean, it is a rough looking building. It looks like it's right off the road. Like if you are, let's say that you are coming from Eastern Kentucky and you decide to take the double A, just keep driving. The double A ends, and just keep driving, and you will eventually end up right in front of Bobby Mackey's. If you are on like 75 or something like that, you'd actually have to turn and like go to Wilder that way. But I was always coming double A, so I would just end, and then I would end up right there in front of their door. And if you're coming across the bridge, you could turn and drive, downtown Covington or downtown Newport to end up there.
So, some things that supposedly have happened in the club.
We're talking about the caretaker who found the portal to hell and was possessed.
Yes. And he eventually had an exorcism performed in the club.
Of course he did. The basement area supposedly has a supernatural vortex. And I always imagined it to be like, Danny Phantom.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that cartoon?
Yes. A patron claimed to have been attacked by a man with a handlebar mustache in the men's room. And this attack involved having a trash can fly at him.
Honestly, that could just have been any patron. It's that kind of place. I mean, I guess the basement is where Joanna probably that's where she was supposed to have killed herself. So,
yeah. Witnesses claim they have seen Pearl Bryan's headless ghost walking through the building.
And however, we have established that you are more likely to see Pearl Bryan's headless ghost while walking on the treadmill.
Yes, at the YMCA.
At the YMCA, right. Or, see, I used to have to go to that YMCA all the time because they had a child care center. But I never saw her ghost.
Well, that's good, because then we'd be doing this episode about the YMCA.
I know, which we probably should.
It's fun to haunt the YM. I can't sing anymore. We'll have to pay royalties.
Oh. But yeah. Although Bobby Mackey himself says that he has never seen anything.
Yeah. He's apparently a non-believer, a skeptic about all of this. Even though the people around him claim that it is haunted. And I almost want to believe that, on one hand, I think that there might actually be some spirit in the building. It wouldn't surprise me. But I don't believe that it is the most haunted nightclub in America.
Right.
And I don't really believe it's the most haunted place in Kentucky either. But, I mean, I don't believe that about Waverly Hills either.
Right, but yeah, we know that place is haunted.
I have pretty high standards for calling something one of the most haunted places. We do know that this building has actual mafia connections. During the Prohibition in 1933, it was bought by a man named Buck Brady, who named the building the Primrose. and ran it as
I volunteer as tribute.
As a casino. And he refused to sell out to the mobsters in Cincinnati, and they did not like that very much.
Right, and I'm not saying that it's not haunted.
No.
And I'm not saying that it's not, that it hasn't had a violent past. I'm just saying that I don't think that the violent past that we attribute it to is truthful.
Yeah, I don't believe it is.
Do I think that mobsters probably killed each other and did other shady shit? Yes, I do believe that. I believe people probably died in that building. I don't think that it was a dancer who committed suicide. I don't think that it was a dad who killed a suitor. I don't think that Pearl Bryan's head was ever thrown in a well.
No. For one thing.
I don't think that it's a portal to hell. I think yes, it's a rough place and people have died, but you know what? There are lots of rough bars that people have died at, and they're not satanic.
No. Actually, there was a number of, according to this website, Travel Channel, there was a number of fatal shootings at the bar in the 1970s, in 1978. I couldn't find any newspaper articles to back that up. But that year it did close, and that is the year that Bobby Mackey bought the place. Pretty much from the beginning, they started billing the place as haunted.
Well, it's good publicity, and it gets people in the door,
yes,
because they're competing with Cincinnati.
I mean,
which is 10 minutes away.
I remember hearing stories about Bobby Mackey's supposedly being haunted from childhood.
Right, because Dad would talk about it. Not that, you know, he was super into the paranormal or thought that, you know, we were going to one day grow up and have a podcast. But our dad was a DJ. And he was really good at his job. And so various clubs would invite him to MC. So he would be the person that would introduce, you know, different bands and everything. When the town that we grew up in had a little place called Star Music Land, and Dad worked there a lot. And so he was offered to do that at Bobby Mackey's, but it's like a 3-hour drive, and Dad said no. But that was one of the things that he mentioned about it, is that, you know, yeah, it's supposed to be really haunted.
Because, I mean, growing up in our family, you believed in ghosts. So.
I've been skeptical of this place from the beginning, though, just because they get the whole Pearl Bryan thing wrong. And then I am immediately like, if you get this wrong, what else do you have wrong? And then I just don't believe you.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what, you're probably trying to feed me BS.
The Ghost Adventures is not their first brush with making this national. They were on Jerry Springer show in 91.
Oh, when
they went on Geraldo in 92. Yeah, I mean, they have done interviews with, you know, national news sources from very early in owning this club to bill it as a haunted place.
Right.
Yet, I mean, and even with Ghost Adventures being there, we've still yet to get any solid piece of hard evidence that would prove that it's haunted.
Right. Well, okay, let's talk about the EMF readings. They were supposed to be relatively high, 5.9 to 6. But that entire building is iron pipes, exposed wiring, unshielded wiring, thin walls, and it's right beside a train track.
Yeah, it's not a good place to even do EMF readings because of those.
I mean, like, the whole building is just a walking building code violation.
You know, watching the Ghost Adventures, especially when it's in the basement, I was so worried that one of them was going to like fall and get hurt. Because it does look rather unsafe.
Yeah.
But, you know, that being said, I was telling Holly before this, I would love to go and do one of the ghost tours of the building.
Right. Well, I think it was last year, 2 years ago. I think it might have been Ghost Adventures. One of those groups was having a contest where they were looking for regular people to go spend a night with them there. And I think, was that them? And if you could survive the whole night without getting scared and leaving, you'd got like so much money or something.
Well, heck, you can spend the night in your house without leaving, and I can spend the night in my house without leaving. So
I put me and Heather down to go, and she signed us up to go too, but we did not get chosen to go, which is fine.
But you can take a 2-hour tour for $35 a person.
Well, that's not bad.
If you have 4 people in your group, it goes down to $25. That's for 2 hours.
As long as I can get a margarita as I'm leaving.
If you want to do the 5-hour tour, it's like about $600, and you can have up to 12 people.
It's not bad.
It is fairly reasonable as far as ghost tours go.
I mean, that sounds like it, but
they are probably making more money on ghost tours than they actually do as a music
bar
venue.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably actually, they might not be making more, but I'm sure they bring in quite a good chunk of change from their ghost tours because they have had such good press on. That being said, if Holly and I do take a tour of it, and we come out 100% convinced that it is one of the most haunted places.
Oh, you guys will be the first
in
to
Kentucky.
know.
We'll definitely tell you about it.
But I'm calling bullshit on it personally. Haunted, yes, but I'm going to say it's probably no more haunted than my house.
We are absolutely calling BS on any link to Pearl Bryan. Listen, it's not logical.
Oh, even in their interrogation, the guy said that they threw her head off the bridge, which is the smart thing to do.
Yes, they probably would have thrown her body off the bridge, but I mean, someone would have noticed.
Right.
Oh, apparently Bobby Mackey's is a mechanical bull. Holly, we got to go now.
Oh, I'm going. Wait, do they have like Jello wrestling or anything like that? Because I could totally get on board with that too.
I don't think so.
Well, dang it. But yeah, I could totally do a mechanical bull.
I found this on bittersoutherner.com. Surprisingly, that is not my website.
Wait, is that mine? I thought maybe that was mine. I was like, wait, did I change my name from Cat Hair and Glitter to Bitter Southerner? Because that's me.
In the mid-1990s, a car shot down Licking Road, the road that Bobby Mackey's is on, lost control and smashed into a telephone pole just outside the club's front doors. The occupants were killed immediately. Larry Hornsby was the first policeman on the scene. As he stood there looking over the wreckage, a woman dressed in an evening gown came out of the club and offered him a pair of tablecloths to lay over the faces of the dead. The next week, Hornsby came back to the club to thank her, and he learned the club had been locked and there was no such woman. I would like to see an interview from Officer Hornsby.
Yeah, really. Is his first name Bruce?
Larry.
Oh, Bruce Hornsby is a singer. Bruce Hornsby in the range. Probably before your time. I mean, I could kind of see that. Although right across the street from Bobby Mackey's is almost that's like a feed store or something. I never really paid attention to it, but there's
we can figure it out real quick. Hold on.
There's some kind of, there's some kind of business there. They were doing road work right down the road from Bobby Mackey's, like right before I left and stopped working in Northern Kentucky. And I would have to reroute myself. Oh my God, I hated it so bad.
Yes, right across the street is... No, it's not it's Jumping Jack Awesome Party Equipment Rental. But it looks like at one time it was probably a garage.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the last time I was through there, I think it was a garage.
And there are train tracks that run behind Bobby Mackey's, and then right directly behind the train tracks is the Licking River.
Yeah. Although all the times I've been through, I've never seen a train, so I don't know that it still works.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't know though. Not 100% sure. I'm not a train expert, Holly.
Well, me either. Although I have a friend who works for a train company, I could ask him, but I don't know that he would know.
I do know that once upon a time, a train hit a UFO in Kentucky, in Paintsville.
But we're saving that for another episode.
I think I've dropped hints about this story for like a couple years now on the podcast.
Right.
Okay, so what stupid criminal you want to do this week?
Well, since we're talking about Cincinnati, you want to move down the road a little bit to Columbus?
We can.
And talk about the chicken Alfredo?
No, I got the perfect one. We were going to discuss it last week, but... Well, no. We was not going to discuss it last week. This was actually sent to me about 10 minutes after we stopped recording last week.
Okay.
Last June, David Adkins of Phelps, Kentucky, and right there, anytime you say Phelps, Kentucky, to anybody in this area, especially, somebody in,
EMS.
Like, oh my God, Phelps. Because it's like, if something crazy is going to happen, it's going to happen in Phelps. So this was actually sent to me by a cop friend of mine, and he said, so I got you another Phelps story, because, it's Phelps. Last June, David Adkins was arrested for shooting his brother. He was initially charged with attempted murder, but the grand jury later dropped the charge to second-degree assault. 3 months ago, he pleaded guilty to fourth-degree assault and was released on a 12-month suspended sentence. He got by pretty light, right?
Right.
Well, on June 14th, 2018, almost a year to the day that he shot his brother, he was arrested for once again shooting his brother.
Sometimes you drive me crazy, but I could never imagine shooting you twice.
The incident happened around noon at the residence on Prater Fork. Police say that Kevin Adkins was shot and was transported to the local hospital by a private vehicle. And that's when you know that you get shot too many times, when they're not even worried enough to call 911. They're like, just load him up in the car, we'll drive him. Phelps is a pretty good distance from the hospital.
Crazy.
So, David Adkins was once again arrested, charged with first-degree assault, and to my knowledge, he is still a resident of the Pike County Detention Center. Hopefully they give him a little stiffer sentence this time, and maybe mandatory family counseling? Because that family's got some issues.
Yes. Okay, I found the chicken Alfredo.
Okay.
I don't even know what to say about this, but so Albert Maruna IV pleaded guilty to several charges, including 3 charges of importuning. I don't know what that means. 4 charges of disseminating matter harmful to juveniles and 1 charge of possessing criminal tools. So, Albert is a Youngstown State University student in Ohio. And he had a dating app where he was talking.
That word means to ask pressingly and persistently for or to do something.
Okay, well, he was asking persistently for sex with a 15-year-old boy who was actually an officer. So he met the officer/boy on a dating app in December and was soliciting sex from the officer/boy. The officer kept saying, I'm only 15, I'm only 15. And Albert really didn't care. And he arranged to meet officer/boy and said that when he came, he was going to bring Sprite, chicken Alfredo, and lube. Now, listen, I am not up on like hip teenage ways to have sex, but I've never had Sprite and chicken Alfredo involved in the bedroom. Am I doing it wrong? I mean, I'm gonna have to go ask like Abby and Hannah. Like, is that what happens nowadays?
Teenager, be like, Emmy, do your friends woo each other with chicken Alfredo?
I mean, because I don't really like chicken Alfredo, so am I just out of luck? Like, I just don't even know anymore. And I'm starting keto diet tomorrow again.
Oh, God.
So that means no Sprite for me, no Dr. Pepper for me. The girls said they're going to move out until the caffeine anger has subsided.
The last time you tried that, you ended up eating fistfuls of cake.
I did. The girls were baking a cake, and they were really nice. Like, they knew that I couldn't eat it. So, and I'm not really even a chocolate. I don't even really like sweets, but I had been deprived for so long, and they were baking a cake in the middle of the night so that I wouldn't have to watch them bake this cake, right? Well, the smell of it woke me up, and I walked groggily to the living room where I reached my hand into their plate of cake and double fisted it. Now, see, that's how you would woo me. Dr. Pepper, chocolate cake, and then I'd probably go out with you.
Well, do you like bagels?
Not really.
No, because I've been making some really good keto bagels lately.
No, I don't really like bagels. See, I mean, like, I feel like I can do this. The Dr. Pepper is probably going to be the hardest. And the noodles. Oh my God, I'm gonna miss noodles so bad. But oh well. So Albert was sentenced to 7 days behind bars, and he is going to have to be on house arrest for 120 days.
And he's going to be
and he'll be
registered as a tier 1 sex offender.
Yeah, and he's got 3 years of probation for 3 years following in his jail sentence. So.
I just wonder, was it homemade chicken Alfredo or
Fazoli's? I hear they make really good chicken Alfredo. Probably, it was in a Tupperware, so I mean, it was probably homemade. So I mean, at least he knows how to cook. The officer could do a lot worse.
I'm reading the comment section on the news article, and one guy's like, "Chicken Alfredo? I'm not that easy. Deep dish pizza? Maybe."
I'd be like lasagna. Can you make a good lasagna? Because bonus points if you can make a keto approved lasagna that tastes like actual lasagna.
It's possible. Zucchini.
I mean, I like zucchini. I just don't know that it actually tastes like
You
noodles.
want to salt them first to pull out as much moisture as you can, and then rinse them off and bake them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to just slice them and put them in there.
So what is a tier 1 sex offender?
Let me Google that.
I didn't know there were different tiers.
I think I don't think all states divide theirs in tiers, actually.
Oh.
Okay. Tier 1 means that he will just have to register his address once a year for the next 15 years.
Oh.
Tier 2, he'll have to register his address every 180 days for 25 years.
Okay, I understand. But yeah, I mean, I'm just sorry. I just think that's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Listeners, if you draw one conclusion from this whole episode, it's this. Chicken Alfredo, probably not the best thing to woo people with.
Sprite. I bet if it was Dr. Pepper, that the officer would have been like, okay.
Okay, 2 things. And number 2, Pearl Brine does not haunt Bobby Mackey's.
Right. Somebody does probably, but not her.
Okay, well, hopefully I will have our new YouTube channel, our new YouTube episode up this week. So, listen to it, like it.
Yes. I have been meaning to record one, so I'm hoping that I can get that done this week, but honestly, probably not.
Yeah. Actually, I have another one in the works. A friend of mine used to live in a house. He actually still has the house. He doesn't live there anymore, though, because the place is kind of scary. The place that might possibly have demonic activity in it. And he wants to take me there and show me around, and he also wants to sit down and tell me some of the stories about the place.
Which friend?
Oh, actually, it's a couple of them. Eli and Cody.
Oh, yes. Great granny.
Yes. So, yeah, they especially want me to take me up to the witch house and see if it doesn't bother me like it bothers everybody else.
I doubt that it will.
I can tell you that holler bothers me. I mean, they didn't even tell me that it was haunted the first time I went up there. I went up there to pick Cody up to take him to Hager's farm, and I knew instantly the place was haunted. So, we'll see. I'm excited about it, but both of them actually want to sit down and do interviews for our YouTube channel.
Okay, let me know. I'll be happy to go to the house too. Yeah. Hopefully it won't be like Blair Witch. Alrighty, thanks for listening. As always, use our affiliate code Haunted Family PB and check out my Etsy shop, Cat Hair Glitter. I don't know if it matters, but it's capital C, capital H, capital G in the Cat Hair Glitter. And I am listing a bunch of true crime shirts this week. So there will be some true crime shirts, there's some alien shirts, there's Bigfoot shirts, there's also just, generic sarcastic
shirts.
You're into that?
Her alien shirts are great. Her puck wedgie shirts are great.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone needs a puck wedgie shirt.
Listen, I have been walking every evening, and my favorite shirt to walk in is a puck wedgie cute but evil shirt. Cute but deadly.
I kind of feel like that shirt is about Abby.
Yeah. So that I love to wear that when I go walking. So I mean, you don't even have to go walking. If you want a puck wedgie shirt, I'll make it for you. I'll send it to you. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
If you liked this episode, please take a moment to rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also show your love by giving us a shout out on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We are Haunted Family Podcast everywhere. You can also tweet us by going to hauntedfamilypodcast.com/tweet. For merchandise, please go to Holly's Etsy shop, etsy.com/cathairglitter. If you have a stupid criminal, paranormal story, or true crime suggestion, email us at hauntedfamilypodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.